Hello class, this is Brother Benning. I'm just going to walk you through some tips, tricks, and certain things you should know how to navigate in Spacemacs and certain things in eLisp. So feel free to take notes, feel free to use this. Whenever you create your own org file, I would always recommend that you copy the data that's on top of every file that you've received from Brother Nef's repository. This metadata allows us to do certain things, so I would always just copy that. And how I generally copy things is when I'm in normal mode or Vim mode, I hit V, and then I just scroll up and then I hit Y. Then I scroll down, and then I hit P, and you can do it just like that. You can also delete the same way. I hit V, I go down, and then I hit D to delete. I can also delete a line just by hitting DD, going into insertion mode so that I can add the line back up, and then escaping. First thing I'm going to show you, it's just something for your pleasure. It's called inline output, and basically 2 plus 2 equals src underscore. So let me redo it again. We're going to go insertion mode, src underscore Python. And then I'm going to hit return hello class. Now this code would run in Python, and what it's actually going to be doing is it's actually going to be running Python when you output it to HTML. So let's output it to HTML real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the file. I'm going to hit space M E E. And as you notice, now we've gotten to the point where we can export. We can export .js files, calendar files, HTML, LaTeX, ODT, and many other formats that you may have and that you can add if you want. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to do H for export as an HTML, and I'm just going to save it as an HTML file. Boom. It says, do you want to evaluate the code in your block system? So it's basically asking, do you want to evaluate the code in the inline? So I'm going to say yes. It has now saved it and written it somewhere else. So I'm going to pull up my terminal. I'm going to go find that guy somewhere, perhaps, maybe. Let's just go in the same directory. It should save it in the same directory that you are in. Okay. So now since I'm running Linux, I just type in Firefox and then test.html. That's the file we're working with, and that's the outputted HTML document. And as you notice, right here, 2 plus 2 equals. Oh, that's annoying. Oh, as you can see, like in eLisp and C++, there are certain things you need to be careful of. I actually did the wrong code. It didn't tell me that there is an error, so that's a problem with using inline. So let's save it again. And then we're going to export it. Space M E E space M E E H H. Evaluate it. Okay, so now it's written that, so we're going to test it again. And actually, when you're in a terminal line, if you just hit up, you can just run it again. And as you see, 2 plus 2 equals hello class. So it compiled Python code. You can compile C++ code inline as well, and it'll have the output in HTML file format. That's just something. Let's go back. All right, so now there's been this thing of how to compile code, different sets of code within the same org file. This is one of the huge benefits and advantages to it. So what we see here is I have C++ code and Python code running right next to each other. So let's see. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to show you the power of Spacemacs and why we're doing this here. So here we go. I have eLisp running and outputting multiple lines. I have C++ running, outputting, outputting the file, and then I have Python running and outputting the file. So first of all, to get Python or elisp to output multiple lines, you just type in elisp semicolon or colon results output. Let me just walk through. So my tips and tricks is I do this. This is just me. You can do it for whatever. There's other shortcuts and tricks, but I do the less than symbol followed by a lowercase s. Then I hit tab. And now I'm going to be coding in elisp. So I'll type in elisp and I'll do results and I'll do output. And so now I'm going to do print. This is a test. And print see if I can do that. Will I be able to do this, class? Should know ahead of time. No, why can't I do it? Because it's trying to evaluate those numbers. So we put a semicolon before it. So it doesn't evaluate 4, 5, and 6 as if they're variables or functions, but it just outputs the list. So there you go. Results output. If we want to do C++ or Python, let me dd to delete, comma, comma to execute. You can run your C++ in here. You're going to need to make sure you call your specific libraries and using namespace. You're also going to want to make sure that you have the compiler installed on your computer already. And so for every language that you're going to be calling in like this, you need to make sure you have a compiler all ready to go. So we're going to look at a quick couple things. So if we look at this, results raw, it's going to keep outputting every time I execute it. Now let's try results silent. Nothing. It doesn't output any code. So that may be if it's some of your code and you just want the function to run so that you can use it later, you do that as well. And then output. If I do output, oh, look at that. Interesting. I invite you guys to play with these and experiment and try to figure out. But I just wanted you to show some of the capabilities of things we can do. Some other quick tips and tricks. Let's say I don't know what a certain function call does. So setQ. I don't know what setQ is. If I go here and if I hit anywhere, I hit space H. H is your help window. D to define, F function. So space help define function space HDF, and I type in setQ. Oh look, setQ is right there. There's several other things I could look up. And now it gives me the API, the official API of what this function does, and sometimes you'll have more stuff you can follow. So let's look at an example. Let's space HDF, and we're going to say loop, because that's kind of weird. And now if we look at loop, it gives us the API, but it also gives us more details. So you can go in there and you can hit enter, and you can find more details. I just hit, let's see. All right. So now I'm lost, right? I'm sure this happens to you guys. So what happens if I try to space WD, delete the window? Nope. How about space Windows? Now when I hit Windows, I hit W. And then let's try to see if there's a previous window. Is there a previous window? I'm sure there is. What's another thing we can do? Well, we can do Control X, Control C. Save the file. That was a sad day, but that happens. Sometimes you just need to run with the punches. We're going to open test.org again. Opening up the file. Okay. So that's we've gone over how to define a function, or how to get the API or the definition of a function. how to export a function. Now let's say there's a symbol I want to work. I want to work in a symbol like the negate symbol. Well, how do I put in the negate symbol? Let's say I did not know. Right? I might type in not works, negate. Interesting. NE equals not equals. But how do I find all those things? Well, there's a dictionary or a lookup section that we can use, and it's a space, and that allows us to do other types of Emacs commands. And we're going to do org entities pretty and so we're going to do orgs entities help. And as you can see, I have a whole bunch. Let's say I want a special Greek letter. There are all the Greek letters. They'll generally be expressed as org entities, and that's what we're first mainly concerned with. If you're going to start outputting as LaTeX or HTML, those are also possible commands so that they compile or output correctly. So let's say we want to do sigma. Let's do sigma with a capital S. So space. I don't want this little window, so I'm going to delete that window. Space WD deletes the little buffers. And let's see, I'm going to hit insert mode to go I, and I'm going to do sigma, S-I-G-M-A. Oh, you guys remember what it was? I already forgot. So how do I do it? Space. Oh, look, it saves the previous Emacs commands that you've run. We're going to go back. Tabs, by the way, open and close drawers. These are technically called drawers. We're going to go letter, Greek, and it said sigma. So sigma should be working. There you go. I was using the wrong dash. That's the problem when you start helping people that are running Windows, is you get things mixed up. So sigma. Perfect. And for entities to work, you need to make sure that you have things up here in the metadata. So I would always make sure you just copy the metadata down. Let's see, what else do we have to go over today? Oh yes, let's say I want to insert a link right here. And I want to insert the HTML file. I make sure I'm in Vim mode. I do comma, IL. And then we go down and we go to, what is it? It is an HTML file. Interesting. So what can we do? Is it an org file? Let's just say file. So we're going to link a file, and we're going to do the test.html file. I've never tried this. Let's see if that works. And now it's asking for a description. And we're going to say some random HTML file, have fun, said no one ever. There you go. So now I have the link, and now if I hit enter, it actually runs the test file somewhere else, but I won't actually go and navigate it. Now let's say I want to navigate to a file, and I'm in Spacemacs. How do I get there? Space FJ. Now I can just navigate up and down, switch into different files. I can go out of the directory, which is nice as well. That way you don't have to leave or close down Spacemacs. So we're going to go back in. And then what does comma apostrophe do? Nothing right now. And that's kind of the nice thing, is you can experiment with things. If you hit spacebar, you see the things in blue will pull you to other commands. So let's see, I want to do zoom. So space Z, and then let's say X, and now I'm going to hit plus, and now I load minus plus 0 Q. So just kind of experiment if you want. If you want to mess around with buffers, I hit space and then I hit B, and now I'm navigating around the buffers. And you can always do Control H, and that'll allow you to navigate if there's extra windows or get some extra help. I think that'll do it for today. We'll go over some more coding and stuff later on. Thank you very much.